just waffling on in the break, 8:35. Here's a top story for you. I once appeared on the front of a diabetic magazine.
Oh, yeah.
I can't think what it was called now. Balance. But unfortunately, next to the picture of me, it had a headline that said, I lost a leg but married a nurse, which I think was a different story altogether. I've got it somewhere. I lost a leg but married a nurse. So there you go. Which is
you were just telling us you were featured in something else as well.
I was on Instagram. I was featured on. No, I can't say it. It was for attractive men. I was on, but it was. But
you were a feature, weren't you?
I was a feature, but everyone else on it had no clothes on.
Yeah.
They just took my picture from Instagram. I didn't do anything for them, but there you go.
You were the only clothed feature.
You're in winter. You're a winter style icon.
Apparently so. Yes.
According to Instagram yesterday.
According to Instagram, I was on Celebrity Winter Fashion or something. Anyway. It's given us a giggle in this break.
It has given us a giggle because it's just so utterly ridiculous. No style at all. Political editor of HuffPost UK, Kevin Schofield, commentator Candice Holmes were here to take us through the papers. Morning, you two.
Morning.
Oh, dear. Can we have just a quick look, Kevin, at The Guardian and Glastonbury?
Yeah, so they've announced the lineup for Glastonbury this year, and people are pointing out that all the headliners are men. And they're saying this isn't very fair, and where have all the female artists gone now? But Glastonbury are saying, obviously this is not intentional, they've not purposefully gone out and just booked a load of blokes. They're saying that actually there's what they call a pipeline issue. Effectively, there just aren't enough female
I thought
headliners coming
Lizzo,
through.
or whatever she's called, was performing.
Yeah, but it's a little bit complicated. I think that's like a kind of joint headline, so she's not like a headliner on her own. So they're saying that. So Taylor Swift had been due to headline in 2020, but obviously that was cancelled because of COVID, and there was a hope that she would do it this year instead, but that's not happening. So they're hoping to get her in future. So they're saying they're not being sexist, they're not purposefully doing it, but there's a wider issue about not enough female artists. Which is,
And I think that's what we're seeing in the BAFTAs as well.
Well, we were just talking about that, wasn't it? And it was the Brit Awards as well. Got a lot of criticism for having not enough women
Brit Awards
in their lineup either. So yes, it's obviously a wider issue. So why is it? I mean, it doesn't seem very fair to me.
These creatives, the creative types. I don't know.
We need more of them.
I'm so uncreative, it's untrue.
You're a poet.
Oh, yeah, well, that aside.
And you don't know it?
No, I do know. I'm published.
Yeah, she's a published author.
What I mean is, you're a poet and you don't know it.
Yeah, that's really rubbish, Kevin.
That was rubbish. See, I'm obviously not a creative.
That's why you write for the HuffPost. That was really cruel, wasn't it? I don't mean it.
Take it to heart.
To the Times, Candice, a serious story about a breakthrough against cervical cancer.
Yeah, I was so interested in this story. So this was in the Times, and it's about some research that's been carried out that's been quite successful in using the mRNA technology from the vaccines to fight tumours. So, I mean, during the whole vaccine rollout, people were saying this could be really useful in fighting cancer because it can train the body to recognise tumours very early on. And with cervical cancer, there are treatments. So, one of the things that's connected to cervical cancer is HPV virus. So people have a vaccine against that. But this could be used for people who've already been infected with HPV. And also, it's just another tool in the arsenal. So, I mean, obviously you have regular smear tests, you have HPV, and this is just another way of fighting it. So it's brilliant for women's health.
It's fantastic. I love the way science just moves forward. It just picks up on, and it's always a secondary thing, isn't it? Something's developed for something, and they pick up a secondary thing off it, and then there you get your breakthrough.
Well, it's so true, because people will often say, what's the use for this piece of scientific research? You can't immediately find a use case for it. But I think sometimes it is good to just explore things on a theoretical level and put the funding in, because it can be used for other things.
Yeah,
we're going to stay with you in Medical Corner over here, because you've got another great medical story here from the FT weekend. Hallucinogenic drugs could be used to treat anorexia.
Yeah, so this is really interesting. So this was in the FT weekend, and I like this story because I'm very interested in mental health. So what some trials have shown is that things like psilocybin, which we know is to be magic mushrooms, can be used to treat psychiatric disorders like anorexia.
Really?
There have been some successful trials, but what I find quite interesting is there's been a shift. So in the 60s and 70s, there was some preliminary research into how these psychedelics could be used to treat mental health problems, but there was a huge backlash against the drug culture of the time, and it shut down a lot of the research. But now there's renewed interest. There's less of a sort of like moral block against looking at these drugs.
Well, because, I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, we've seen it with cannabinoids and things, haven't we? That, you know, you take the bad stuff that people don't like out of it. It's not about giving people a trip or a high, is it? It's about using this in a medicinal way.
Yes, exactly. And now people are starting to recognise that again, the therapeutic, and it's not in any way quackery.
No,
you know, this stuff is real, and very serious medical doctors do think it has use.
Oh, well, that would be amazing. Anorexia is such a cruel disease.
It is a very cruel disease, yeah.
So, no, well, let's hope that works.
Yeah.
Goosebumps in the Telegraph, Kevin. It's a series of books I've never heard of.
Likewise, but he's sold 300 million copies.
Oh, well, someone's read it then.
R.L. Stein, and they're kids' horror books, which is incredibly popular, obviously. 62-book series.
Oh, wow.
And he is choosing to tone down the language a little bit, you know, make it more modern. Now, this comes on the back, obviously, of the controversy over the Roald Dahl stuff, but this is different in that this author is still alive, and he is choosing himself to remove words such as, so there's one character in one of the books described as plump. That's gone. They're now cheerful. Another who had...
Oh, yeah, because fat people are always cheerful. I mean, that's a stereotype.
Well, I did think there was a little bit... Yeah, I'm not sure it quite worked out. But anyway, another one has 6 chins, is now at least 6 foot 6 inches. So they're just completely changed it. Someone who's very overweight is now huge.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure that's much better.
I think it's worse.
But yeah, it just shows, again, it's a trend now to... change the language in a lot of these books, which was not remarked upon and no one really noticed 30 years ago, whereas now modern day kids are maybe a little bit more sensitive to this type of thing, and they're changing it. And ultimately it's all about selling more books, isn't it?
I mean, I don't agree with changing it in the sense that I think if people are upset by it, you've got to become more robust. However, with this fella, if he's doing his own books, then that's his choice, isn't it? So I'm you can't really argue against it in that sense, can you?
Yeah, absolutely. As long as he doesn't feel like he's under undue duress to do it. If he really does feel he wants to make these changes, then it's okay. Because I know some authors do feel a little bit of pressure to kind of cave to what the sensitivity readers are recommending, like the author Kate Clanchy had quite a lot of conflict with the sensitivity readers on her books. So I think it's a very tricky thing to manage.
Yeah. Yeah.
Should we have a look at this story that we touched upon with Stephanie a little bit earlier? It's Georgia Harrison and Stephen Bear. He's been jailed for 21 months for posting revenge porn about her. Just for anyone watching or listening at home, what exactly is revenge porn, and what happened in this case?
Yeah, sure. So this is a story in The Sun. I mean, revenge porn is such a cruel phenomenon. So it's basically where one person may have very sexually explicit pictures or videos of another person who they may have had sexual relations with, and they threaten to post it online. Or they post it online and display it to the world to make money off it, sometimes to humiliate the person. There can be all kinds of reasons for it. We now have laws against it, which is really good. So, I mean, Stephen Bear was prosecuted under revenge porn laws, which I think first brought in about 2015 and have been made a little bit even more comprehensive in 2021. Because prior to that, I don't think there were specific laws to tackle this phenomenon of revenge porn. I know in the US there are a lot of problems with actually finding a way to convict people who'd done this, and they were sort of getting away with it, doing these incredibly cruel things to women and causing them huge mental distress, and some men too.
Yeah, well, look, but he's been, I mean, she was filmed on CCTV in his garden when they were together as an item, but she didn't know she was being filmed, and then he went and put it on OnlyFans and made money out of it all, which is just extraordinary. She spoke, I thought, very bravely yesterday.
Yeah, that must have been so hard for her, because that is humiliating. That is really, and that is such a violation of trust and of privacy, someone you've been intimate with doing these things. And he, so far from what I've seen, hasn't really shown much remorse.
No. Well, there is a video that has gone viral on Twitter of him entering the courtroom yesterday. just outside the courthouse, I should say, and he's actually surrounded by female journalists who are asking him if he feels remorse, if he'd like to apologise to Georgia Harrison. If you are watching on TV, you can see a little bit of that video now. But he's just playing around, isn't he? There's a lady wearing a red coat next to him, and he starts singing Lady in Red to her, and he's taking selfies with fans who, quite concerningly, are still trying to take photos of him. He just seems to be really enjoying it all, really, enjoying the attention. He doesn't realise the crime he's committed.
Yeah, callous, entitled, so many negative traits that I think would lead someone to do this, to cross boundaries in such a serious way. You kind of see those traits in him.
And the whole thing, really, sorry, Stephen, has been a bit of a circus, really. He's been turning up to court in a rented limo, and he's been wearing these bright pink suits and carrying a cane and swinging it around. I mean, it's just making a mockery, really.
No, you're right. He's relishing it. He's enjoying the attention. He likes the notoriety.
Well, he'll have notoriety now that he's waking up in a prison cell this morning.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting. He'll either be very popular inside or not.
Yeah, that's the thing, yeah.
One of the two.
But he's got a custodial sentence, which, like you say, even 7 or 8 years ago, just wouldn't have happened. And the law's come a long way.
It's a significant sentence as well. I mean, 21 months. I mean, that's a long time. So as you say, he's got plenty of time to think back on these actions and maybe show a bit of remorse, but perhaps not, given how he's been behaving.
Yeah, well, let's hope so. It's been good to see you both. That's it, isn't it, from you two for today? Candice and Kevin, thank you both very much indeed. Really good to see you today.
No worries.